Okay, so the recording has started, and okay, so you guys are giving your names in the chat. So I will start presenting. Uh, so our first order of business is the homework review. So from last week, I checked the homework for last week, which was to make a sprite move using the arrow keys. And this week I added the second component of the example program I gave, which was to make a second sprite move around and hit the edges and bounce off, and then check if it was in contact of the first sprite. So we can see here, this is an example of the homework from last week, where you had your right, left, up, and down arrows, and you change your X and Y coordinates by +10 or -10. Does everybody understand that? Are there any questions about last week's homework? Uh, Ashwini, or whoever is on that account, do you have a question? If you do, just put it in the chat. Okay, well, if there are no doubts, then we move on to the next one, which is what I assigned last week. If you guys had a time to do it, then that's good. If not, that's also fine. So over here, our purpose is to make this move in a straight line, hit this edge, and then bounce off. Luckily for us, we do have a bounce block, so we don't need to worry about the mechanics of bouncing. But first, we set up a variable since we want it to track how many times it comes into contact with this beetle. So first we set up a variable and we set it to 0 because every time we click the green flag, we want the game to reset, right? And then we say our variable, which would be 0. Then for the rest of the program, until we click this red stop sign, we want it to move 10 steps, which would mean that it moves like this. And then we want it to check if it's on the edge. It's not on the edge here. So it'll go to the next statement. Then is it touching the beetle? It's not, so it won't do any of this. But then it'll move 10 steps. It'll be touching the edge. It'll bounce. And obviously, I can't really change the direction right now quickly. So just imagine if it changed the direction, it bounced again, then it came over here. So what it does now is that it moves 10 steps. It checks, is it on the edge? No, it's not. Then it checks, is it touching the beetle? And it is. And we can see that since it was touching the beetle, it changed the variable by 1. And obviously, as I said in the previous class, it checks like every half second or millisecond. So you don't get that change by 1 sometimes. Sometimes it'll change by 10. And that's okay. I just wanted you guys to make this program. So did anybody do that or make something like it? Ashwini, where is the go key? Okay, so for this beetle, there is no go key. So it moves regardless if the green arrow, the green flag is pressed, since the condition for this is when the arrow key is pressed, not when the flag is pressed. So technically, it's always looking for when I press these arrow keys. So like right now, I'm pressing the down key, since you can see it being highlighted. And then if I press the up key, it does that. So do you understand that? I didn't do, sir. That's fine. Do you at least understand the logic behind this, behind the program that I made then? The fact that it moves in a straight line and checks if it's either touching the edge or if it's touching the beetle. Okay, so that's all we're looking for. And then our next topic for today is going to be arrays and search functions. So it's not going to be like the usual arrays. Yes, if you know what arrays are, then it's not going to be like that. It's just a very simple introduction because I saw these blocks. Join apple and banana or letter one of apple. So today we're going to be going over a concept called arrays. I'm going to change the presenting screen. Uh, so, okay, so you guys can all see the paint, right? Okay, so the MS Paint. So our topic for today is arrays, and we'll be doing it on Paint. So an array is like a grocery list. So when your parents go out to get vegetables or whatever they need for cooking, they make a grocery list, right? So they'll write down item one, item two, item three, right? And then they'll label them one, two, three, right? So does everybody understand that grocery lists, they have multiple items and you mark them down in like a list kind of way, right? Does everybody understand that? Okay, well, I'm gonna assume that you all did. So for today, arrays are kind of like grocery lists. So you have item one, then you have in the next space an item two, and you have something that separates them. Okay? And in item one, you could have a letter A, item two, P, item three, P, then so on and so forth till you have an array that spells it out like apple. Okay? So each letter in our array is the word apple, basically. So they all spell it out to be apple. So does everybody understand that you can split up a word into letters and you can call that your array? Anushka, you didn't understand the grocery list example? So, uh, hmm, okay. Do you ever make a list of things that you need to do in the day? Like homework, like I have math homework, I have history homework. Do you ever make a list like that? Okay, so I'll repeat it. So you have a list, okay? So imagine this is like your homework list. You have maths homework, you have history homework, you have English homework, so on and so forth. So say you have 5 homework items that you need to complete. So imagine that, like, imagine you have that list of 5 items. What we're saying today is that list of 5 items is like your array, okay? So you have your item 1, which would then be your maths homework, your item 2, uh, English homework, 3, history homework, 4, 5, like that. And what we're saying here is that you, instead of going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 all the way down the line, you have these separate items. They're their own unique little block. So do you understand that? Since they're their own unique block, I'll explain later that you can pick them out or you can search through all 3 of them in order to just see which one. I guess if you will show it in Scratch, I'll get it. So, okay. The reason I brought up arrays was for Scratch. So I'll stop presenting this screen and I'll show what I mean by it in Scratch. So there's no clear-cut example in Scratch, but there are these. Letter 1 of apple. So what do you think this does? Searches for the first letter of apple, right? So what I was saying is that in this case, your apple is like an array. It's not a word. Your Scratch program is not viewing it as one word. What your Scratch program is seeing it as is 5 individual letters. So you have letter 1, A, letter 2, P, letter 3, P, letter 4, L, letter 5, E. So what you're able to do then is that if I take this out and I do say, or wait, say letter 1 of apple, it says A, right? Now say I do letter 4 of apple, it shows L, right? That's because it's able to look at each of these letters as a unique object. For humans, obviously, we can do that easily. But for a computer, what it has to do is that it has to take this word that you've put in, and then it has to split it up into individual letters. That's why I was using Paint as an example. So you saw in my Paint example how I took the word apple and I split it up into 5 letters. So does everybody understand that? So what this program does, this search program does, is that it takes one word and it splits it up into letters. And then it searches for the 4th letter. Okay, so you guys all understand that. And then along with those, then we have length of apple, which it does the same thing, except instead of now searching for the 4th letter, it'll go through and count how many letters there are. And so now if we put length of apple, it'll say 5. And then if we put like, I don't know, low, which would also be 5. Okay, not a great example. Okay, dog. And now it's 3. So you can see clearly that it splits it up into letters and counts it. Now we have this one, which is a Boolean. Apple contains A. So now what this does is that, as we said before, it splits it up into letters. It splits it up into an array, a list of letters. So then what it searches for is it goes through each and every single one. So if we asked if it had D, so what it'll do is that it'll split it up into 5 letters. And then it'll go through the first letter, A. It'll search, is that D? No. And then it'll go and search P. Is that D? No. Then it'll go and search P again, so on and so forth. And then since it doesn't contain D, we can see when we click on it, it comes out to be false. So does everybody understand that? I'm gonna switch it to Paint just to show you guys again. Okay, so I'll switch it to Paint really quick. So obviously we had this previous example of apple being split up into letters, right? So what it does is that if we're searching search F, okay? So imagine search F, okay? It would basically be like us putting that apple contains F, okay? So we're searching, does apple contain F? So what it does is that we have this word, apple. okay? And we split it up now into 5 letters, A, P, P, L, E. And we put each of these letters in a unique spot on this array. And then we search one by one. Does A equal F? No. Does P equal F? No. And then so on and so forth. So does everybody understand that? And since it gets to the end and it'll search for a 6th letter, which doesn't exist, it'll come out to be false. So does everybody understand that? All right. So now, let me think for a second. And everybody gets like that these diamond ones, the ones that have the pointy ends, you see that you can only use them in stuff like while loops or if statements. So they are what we call Booleans. Does everybody remember what Booleans are? If you don't, it's fine to say that you don't, and we'll go over them. Okay. So Booleans. So let me just erase the okay, you know what? I'll open up a new paint tab. And we'll go and we'll review Booleans then. So in the last class, I brought up Booleans and with it number systems. So some of you may know we use a decimal system. Decimal. Okay? And at the start of this, we have dec or dec, which stands for 10. So our digits, we have 10 digits in our number system, 0 through 9. It's not 1 through 10 because 10 is a combination of 1 and 0. It's not a unique digit. Okay, so the number system that we use is 0 through 9, 10 digits, which we can see the dec in decimal stands for 10. And so next we have binary. Okay, so binary. And just a hint, at the start we have bi. And just a question, how many wheels does a bicycle have? Yeah, Anushka, yeah, I remember that you understood. So Ashwini, this is more so for you and other people that didn't understand. So if you could just put it in the chat, how many wheels does a bicycle have? Pretty easy question. All right, so we can see that Yash, I'm sure you know what binary is. So binary, the bi in binary stands for 2. As with a bicycle, you have the bi in bicycle, and it has 2 wheels. So what are the first 2 digits in decimal? 0 and 1. So in binary, you have 2 digits, 0 and 1. So when you wanted to say 2, for example, you wouldn't put 2 in binary, you would put 1, 0, something like that. So it's a different number system. You don't need to understand it or learn how to convert it for this class. But now we have Booleans. and I'm gonna give the two values for Booleans, okay? True and false. Now, if we were to exchange these true and false for instead two numbers, since computers don't run on our words like these. If we were to say 0 and 1, now what number system does that look like? So does everybody understand then that because Boolean only has two numbers or two values, true and false, it is then technically a binary system. And it's very easy then for a computer to use Booleans to go down two avenues. So it's almost like if you were walking down a path and then you come at two options. Okay? You have either a direct path to your destination, point A, which is, say, 100 km. Okay? Say you're walking. So 100 kilometers. And then you have a path to destination B, which is, say, 10 kilometers. But you need, wait, 10 kilometers might be a bit short. So say it's also 100 km. But what you're checking for is, am I thirsty? So your if statement is, if thirsty, go to point B, since point B has water. But if not thirsty, then you go directly to point A, which is your destination. And you come over here, and you are thirsty. So thirsty is true, right? So your thirsty is now true. So which one would you go on now? This is also like a review of an if statement. Sir, I didn't understand Booleans. Okay, so I saw that a bit late. We'll go over it again just as soon as somebody at least gives an answer. So which path would you go down? So as I said before, you go down B if you're thirsty. You go down A if you're not thirsty. So which one? Think about it. I said you go down B if you are thirsty, and you go down A if you're not thirsty, and you are thirsty. Yes, so it is B. In the future, if you don't understand what I'm saying, please ask me to repeat it. And if you don't know the answer, it's fine to ask or say that I don't know, rather than just copying what somebody else put. So yes, you would go down B. Okay, so I'll repeat your what do you want repeated? Do you want the question repeated, or do you want the explanation of Booleans? Oh yeah, and yes, I think you might have to go. Or
Oh, I do? Okay.
he said 8:25, right?
8:25 IST.
IST, and I think it's close to 8:25. Let me just
So
check.
should I leave the meeting or should I
Yeah,
just stay
yeah.
here? Leave the meeting. Okay. So, and
Wait,
then he said he would talk to me. So would that be through WhatsApp or through the Google? Um,
you can ask him on the Google, on the
okay.
WhatsApp. If
I'll
he
ask him
wants
on
to
the
do like a
WhatsApp.
video call or a Google Meet. I think, yeah, because
Awesome.
it's 8:26 right now, so you can leave and
Okay.
yeah,
Thank you. Thank
yeah,
you all.
no
I
problem.
really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Looking forward to teaching you guys.
Okay, so besides that, so sir, I did not understand. Okay, so I'll just go over Booleans again. Okay, so we have a 10-digit system and we have a 2-digit system. Okay, so the 10-digit system, I introduced that just to get the concept of number systems. Okay, then I introduced a 2-digit number system to show you that there are number systems that exist that don't have 10 digits, are 0 through 9. There are number systems that have 2 digits. Then I brought up Booleans, which use a 2-value system. For us, we say values because the way that we use Booleans, we label them as true and false. We do not label them as 0 and 1. The computer labels them as 0 and 1. So now we have Booleans which link our concept of 2-digit number systems to Scratch now. Because now you have a name to call those blocks that like look like this, you know, the ones with the pointy ends. And then I brought up how Booleans can be used in an if statement. So we're going down a path. So we're move 10 steps, move 10 steps. Then if thirsty equals true, turn to B and move 10 steps towards B. If thirsty does not equal true, or our else statement. So if thirsty equals true, turn towards B, move towards it. Else, we turn towards A and we move towards A. So does everybody understand that now? Okay. So if you guys do have any problems with my explanations, I think I'll just start showing my logic behind it because that seems to work better than me just explaining it without doing that. So I think that more or less wraps up the scratch that I had planned for today. So I'm going to stop presenting and we can go on a short 5-10 minute break. Okay? Sir, do we have to label 0 as true? Well, we don't label 0 as true. The computer does that. So technically it's your operating system that labels 0 as true, but we won't go into that depth. So what will happen if we set a rotation position to left and right? So like if you use an if statement to set the rotation position, I think that should like it'll just work the normal way. So and then how to copy a sprite. So you can duplicate the code, or you can export the actual like file. But the exporting then exports it as like a scratch file, and I don't think you can import that actual code onto a different sprite. So you can only duplicate the sprite and then change like its color or something in that sprite, in that costume or whatever. Oh, how to copy a sprite. So you want Tiraj. Oh, yeah, I'm not sharing my screen. I'm just trying to explain. Um so I mean with a script, let me just because I didn't see any code that gave a script for doing the same thing. The only thing I would be able to say would be to like, I don't know, just duplicate the code that you have for one sprite on another sprite, but I know that's not what you wanted. Yeah, I don't see any block that does it. Sir, YouTuber has done it, I guess. Well, if you find the YouTube video, let me know, please. I I'm quite curious, honestly, to see how that would work. Uh, and then maybe we can screen share it in the class and I'll show everybody if you manage to find it. Otherwise, I think we can start with the next part of our class, which will be HTML, which we haven't done since the first class. It's been a long time coming, and today we're just going to go over the basics again. Okay, so now I'll present my screen. Start code with Harry. Okay, so I'll search it up later after this class, and maybe next class we can go over it as a review session. Okay, so I'm going to present my entire screen. So what we're going to do today is that we're going to go over how to create an HTML page again. Then I'll give you some short HTML homework. Okay, so the first part is to create a text document. So you right click in whatever folder that you want to place it in. You scroll down to new, you move your mouse down to new, and then you go to text document. And then you open up your text document, double click on it, and then you go. I personally like to at least set up the HTML. So you do that HTML and then /HTML. Oh yeah, by the way, does everybody remember that you have opening and closing tags? Okay, wait, Anushka, I have a question. So what is your question? Anushka? If you have a question, please tell me. Otherwise, I'm going to have to move on. Sir, why is HTML called a markup language? It's because, well, so what you're doing basically is that you have a blank screen, a blank tab. So say, I'm just going to breeze over this. Okay, so you do save as, okay? We're going to label it as test, okay? So then you go to all files, then you put test.html. You want to add that .html, then you can close this. And then we can go back to our document, and you can see now, right? It says Opera GX web document because my default browser is Opera GX. So we can delete this. This doesn't matter. And then we can open test. You click on it once, open test. You right click, then you go to open with Google Chrome. And you can see now that this is blank. And this is the reason why HTML is called a markup language. Oh yeah, please keep yourselves muted. So what you're doing basically with HTML is that you take this blank screen and you add text, you add a picture, you change the color of the text. So what you're doing basically is that you're just adding things. You're marking up this blank page. You're not doing anything too complicated. And then that's where we go to our tags. Okay. Give me 1 second. So I'm going to close this. We're going to move back to here. So if you want to edit your HTML document, what you're going to do is you're going to go down to open with, and you're going to open with Notepad. And we have here. So you use the body tag to show that this is going to be that main body of your HTML. So that blank page, that blank tab, this we're going to fill it up in this body section, okay? Today I have two major tags to show you guys. So we have our header tags, our H1. We have our H2, which is just it's a kind of header the same as H1. And then lastly, we have our paragraph tag. Okay. So, does anybody remember what these three tags do? Obviously, if you don't, that is completely fine. You can say, no, I don't. Okay, sir, can you show how to open it again? Okay, I'll show it later. First, we're going to focus on these three tags. After that, then I'll show how to open up an HTML page. No? Sir, I don't remember. Okay, that's fine. Great, in fact. Okay, so if we put header 1, okay, just put these tags names in the text, in the HTML code. So then we go to save, and then we go to test. Then now we do open with Google Chrome, and now we see, if we put it side by side, where we have header 1, we have a bold text. We have bold text. Where we have header 2, we have bold text, but smaller size. And paragraph is just normal text, not bolded, nothing done to it. It's a default font. So now do you guys understand what each of these three tags does? Okay, so now we're going to go back and we're going to show how to open up an HTML page. So what you're going to want to do is new. You go down, you do a text document. Okay. So after you make the text document, you can name it whatever. Then you go and you open with Notepad. Okay, so I'm just gonna delete this real quick because the rest of it doesn't really need uh, a new one. So we're going to then open with. Imagine this is our first text document. You open with Notepad. Then you go to Save As. You go to File, Save As, and then it'll say that it's a text document, right? So you're going to hit All Files. Then you're going to do test.html. And you're going to do save. And since this already exists, it's going to replace it. So we're going to do yes. And so then now we have, it will show probably Google Chrome or Internet Explorer on your guys' devices. And then that's it, really. So does everybody understand that now? How to open it? Anushka, do you understand how to open it? Okay. Uh, so now we I don't know. So obviously some of you might not have the capability on your device to open up an HTML page. So for that reason, I'll provide a W3 Schools HTML editor. You can search this up, or you can take this link. I'll be putting it in the chat right now and later as well. So this is an online editor for HTML. So anything in the body, if I give you some homework that requires something to be put in the body, like today, I'm gonna give you some basic HTML homework. Then you can put it in here and just write your code. Right, run. Okay. So does everybody understand that? I need some kind of what is it? Confirmation from you guys just to make sure that you guys know that if you don't if you're not able to open up an HTML document for whatever reason and you're doing all the steps correctly, you think, then you can use that link that I gave. So our last thing for today is going to be an introduction into a major part of HTML. So I'm just going to delete both of these. What we're going to be doing, what we're going to be introducing is the style element. So style in HTML means that you're changing something about that tag. So anything within those two opening and closing tags, it's not going to be the default set like font size, or maybe it's a different bolding like width, or maybe it's a different color, as I'm going to show. So style equals color, then I believe if you put red, what this does is that, okay, we're changing something about the style. Now we're changing the color, and then you do this semicolon, I believe it's called, and then the two quotations around whichever color. So if you do save and open with Google Chrome. All right, so that didn't work. Let me think. What exactly? Oh, okay. I forgot that you need to put quotations around the whole thing, not just the red. What you're gonna do now is style equals and then quotation color semicolon red and then quotation. That's how it works. So if you don't need to reopen your HTML file every time you make an edit, you can just refresh. Yeah, so now we see we're able to change the color. Sir, I found out how to do it. Okay, so you found out how to open the HTML file? Oh, no. Oh, wait. So did you find out how to clone the movements of the other sprite? Okay. So, yeah, so just give me the link when I ask for it. I just want to introduce this thing. So everybody look at this, soak it in, because it's going to be a bonus part of your homework. So just remember how this looks, and I'm going to close it now. So today we went over header 1, H1, and H2, and then the paragraph tag. So now for your homework, we're going to make an HTML page with the following: a bold header that says this is a test, a line of normal text which says hello world. So this is your H1 tag. Okay, this is your paragraph tag. Okay, this, change the color of the text, that will be your style. Style equals whatever. Okay, does everybody understand what the homework is? Obviously, if you're not able to make an HTML document, or if you don't have a device with you, you can just write it down on a notebook paper and save it for next week. So since there's only one person saying yes, I'm going to assume that everybody understood. And so, sir, please show style paragraph. Okay. So this is the style paragraph. I'll show it for about 15 seconds because I do want to make sure that you guys understand it and see what it is. So that's it for HTML. I think that'll be it for the class. So Anushka, if you can save that document, or save the video link somewhere, and next class if you can give it to me. Okay, so I'll just keep it. So next week we'll is this the video? How to make a jumping game? Okay. So I'll show this next class and we'll go over it. Does anybody have any other questions? Okay, she tells it in that itself. Okay, so we'll look at it next week and spend some time. It's only a 5-minute video. So yeah, so if there aren't any more questions, we can stop the class. That should be it. Okay. Have a good rest of your week. If any of you have any tests coming up or whatever, good luck on them. And I will see you all next Saturday evening.